Make sure you check out Stu's Wrestling Podcast, man. One of the best podcasts going today. Like he said, top in the world, man. The Young Goat speaking. Make sure you will check it out.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Palmer.
Today's guest on Stu's Wrestling Podcast is an ECW original, a former one-time ECW World Heavyweight Champion, a two-time ECW Tag Team Champion, as one half of the Impact Players with the great Lance Storm. My guest today is Justin Credible. We talk about his time in WWF, enhancing talent initially, then being signed to a contract, becoming Aldo Montoya, Portuguese man of war, which is all tied in with his Portuguese heritage. His mum and dad were from Portugal. We get to hear about that and what Vince and Pat said to him when they found out he had Portuguese heritage. He enhanced some of the best: Owen, Hart, The Undertaker, Mr. Perfect, Yokozuna, to name but a few. You'll get to hear all about that. We talk about his time in ECW, how Paul Heyman was with the talent, how he energised them to do stuff, even when they could be annoyed with Paul Heyman. He just had that knack, and Justin talks about that at length, the way Heyman was in ECW. Subsequent move to ECW, which led to being on top of the card, tagging with Lance Storm, as I've alluded to earlier, becoming world champion in ECW. He spoke with fondness about that. You'll get to hear about all this and more today on Stu's Wrestling Podcast with my guest, former ECW original Justin Credible, PJ Polacco. Enjoy. My guest, all the way from Connecticut this afternoon, this morning where he is, it is the ECW original World Heavyweight Champion, two-time Tag Team Champion as one half of the Impact Players of Lance Storm, also an 8-time Hardcore Champion. I had to get that one. It is just incredible.
How are you?
Unbelievable, man. Can't believe I've got you on. This is incredible. Can't wait to...
Oh, thank you, man. It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Can't wait to speak to you about, obviously, the early days of your career as well, because you know quite a lot from the last 20, 25 years. So looking forward to this, man.
Awesome.
I love pro wrestling. Always have, always will. So that's cool, man.
Cool.
So,
looking forward to it.
Justin, the early stages training. Now, I read that you were trained by the Harts up in Alberta many years ago. How was that?
It was great. I mean, I was 18 years old when I went there, right after I finished high school, and it was intense. I was there for 2 months, and it was everything you hear about the Hearts and the kind of training they do, and the rigorous, just stuff that they do was unbelievable. And I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, we started with 12 guys. And only 2 finished the camp, and I was one of the 2. So I was, I worked hard and was very lucky to finish. Were
you up there in the winter, or were you like?
No, thank goodness. I was there in the summertime. I was there July through August.
That's cool, man. Then I got to reading Lance Storm then trained you more latterly. How was it with Lance and learning from Lance? Obviously, because he graduated the year before, hadn't he?
Right. Yeah, it was great. I mean, that's when he was the first person I really, besides the Hearts, he was the first person I really met in the business of pro wrestling. So, it was great. He was, wonderful. He was only a year and a half in the business then. We just got along really well. He was very patient, and, and he still does it today, still trains guys and gals, and he's one of the best out there,
That's it, man. That's right. If you're coming out of that school now, you're well on your way. I hear from all you guys about Lance Storm, and
absolutely,
just crazy to think how long he's been going. He's still going. It's incredible, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fast forwarding a little bit now from the training. When did you have your first match? When did the first match occur?
I came back home for a couple of months. And they were going to start a promotion up there in Calgary in October. So, and they were going to run every Friday night. So I went up there on my birthday and had my first match, October 16th, 1992, when I turned 19. And I had my first 10 matches out there. And those 10 matches, I ended up working with Chris Jericho when he was still very young in the business. Worked with Lance Storm up there as well. And, a couple of names that I don't even remember, but they were from the old Calgary Stampede area. And then eventually, right before Christmas, I came back home to Connecticut for good because I wasn't making any money over there, and I basically had to come home. But I got in some experience, which was pretty cool up there.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Then, how was it developing your moveset? Crafting the moves in the early portion. Obviously, you were still learning. You were very young. Did those moves stay with you more later in your career as well?
Believe it or not, yeah. I was just doing basic stuff. I mean, I always thought because back then I was probably 220 pounds, 6 foot tall, and that was considered at the time small in the WWE or back then the WWF. So I figured I had to be a high flyer because everybody was so big, and Owen and Brett were and Shawn Michaels were like the smallest guys, and they were, they moved quicker and stuff. So I thought I had to be like a high flyer. So I did some of that when I was a baby face, but I just did, I mean, like anything else, you develop more stuff, you try stuff out. When I really started to develop more stuff is when I got to work with different people in ECW, guys like Jerry Lynn. That's when I really started to kind of try different things out with those guys.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Then I think perfectly now I was reading up because obviously I remember you as Aldo Montoya, but
yep.
you came in initially as an enhancement talent, didn't you? In
right.
WWF.
Yeah.
I am correct
yes.
in saying that, aren't
yes.
I?
Absolutely.
How is it being an enhancement talent? I bet it was incredible being backstage, seeing all the guys, the talent, the crop of talent at that time.
It was amazing because, I got really lucky. When I came back to Connecticut, I didn't really know anybody. And this was before the internet and before, you could communicate all around the world, very easily. So I didn't have any connections here. So I was starting to get frustrated. And I went to a WWF house show and they were very kind to me. They let me backstage. I introduced myself. Tony Gurria was the agent in charge. And, so they let me watch the matches backstage and very cool guy. And afterwards I went and said, thank you. I appreciate it. And he goes, well, if you ever want to do enhancement work, jobs for WWE, we're starting a new show in Manhattan called Monday Night Raw. We could use guys locally because I was, only an hour and a half from New York City. So that's how I got my start, and then the road kind of began slowly for me. And, I worked as an enhancement guy for a while, for about a year or so. Mm-hmm. And where the story really gets good is I currently live and I always have, I was born and raised in Connecticut. I always lived about 45 minutes from Stamford, from the office. Yeah. And Tony calls me and he told me that he needed me to go there Monday through Friday for 1 week to train with Undertaker and Brian Lee. They were going to do the two Undertakers. And they wanted to, kind of have me bump around for him so he can get used to doing Mark's moves. Excuse me. And then, so we worked out, just working out, no big deal. And then Friday we did a full dress rehearsal for Vince and Pat Patterson. And so, everything went smooth. It was just Vince, Pat, and Undertaker and myself and Brian, of course. So after that, Pat gets in the ring with me and he starts asking me questions about who trained me. And I told him the Harts, and that was, great. And he was very happy with my work. They always liked my work. They knew I had a little bit of talent. And then Pat asks me out of nowhere, he goes, what nationality are you, kid? And I said, well, sir, I'm Portuguese. And he goes, really? Hey, Vince, this kid over here, he's Portuguese. And Vince kind of pops. And I thought that was strange. Okay, what's the big deal? And then we can talk a little more. And he goes, well, kid, do you speak it? I said, yes, sir, I do. And he goes, hey, Vince, this kid speaks Portuguese. And Vince pops, aha, very good. How he does. And lo and behold, they were looking for somebody all ready to do the Aldo Montoya character. So I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And that's how I got my gig with the WWE.
Just to go back to the enhancing, who did you enjoy working with in that early portion when you first went there? I'm sure there's countless matches that you
Undertaker, Kurt Hennig, Owen Hart, Yokozuna, the Samoans, the Head Shrinkers, I'm the Mountie, just I was Shawn, Razor, many, you name it. Probably everybody at one point, Lex Luger, so yeah, I did wrestle Crush, Brian Adams, Adam Bomb, if you remember him.
I do remember him very well. Yeah, and then obviously
the Steiners, Rick and Scott.
You're rolling them off. PJ, you're rolling them off here. This is and that is my era. A lot of the guys over in the UK,
right? Attitude
era.
Yep.
90 onwards from when I watched. You just rolling off them guys, and what a mix of guys.
Great.
For you being so young in the business, that's just that's priceless. That's priceless. That must have been priceless for you. Sure.
It was, and to work with these guys, even though I was enhancement talent, I was still learning. And they were all very good to me. Those guys liked me because I was around quite a bit. Vince used me quite a bit. I was very lucky. And so it was fun, man. I learned so much. And just to work with somebody like Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. He was a rare one because he was so talented. Really, just being in the ring was amazing with him. And, and even working with Mark, Undertaker, even though you're just doing a job, you still get to see and experience how it goes, even though my role is smaller, you still get to, you know what I mean? You get to feel it out and you get to really see what it's like on that end with high level guys. So it was a great experience, and it really got me ready for what was coming next,
Around that time as well, I just wanted to see about how the houses were at the house shows and stuff like that. Were you still doing a lot of people at the arenas? Was it still pretty packed out at that point?
It was not.
No.
That's why the Aldo thing started to happen, because like with Davey Boy, when every time he'd go over to London and we'd go to the UK, they'd use Davey Boy on top because he was such a big draw. Mm-hmm. And that was the idea for Vince to go to South America, Brazil. That's why they were looking for a Portuguese character, because in Brazil, even though I'm not Brazilian, I'm actually from the country Portugal. But they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Yeah. So they figured we can go down there with Aldo and he could do the media and stuff like that. So they were looking to go overseas more and more because the houses in America were down at the time. So that was part of the reason as well.
How was it doing the Aldo Montoya gimmick, the Portuguese Man of War? How did you find that? Did you embrace it?
I did. I'd never worked under a mask before, and literally, 2 hours before showtime, people sometimes think that everything is so pre-planned out. All these things ahead of time. You really don't. I literally got my costume 2 hours before I went out there. I'd never worn the stuff, and I never had a mask before. So when we put the mask on and realized it was so shitty, because at first the way the drawing was, the art, it was supposed to look almost like a cane mask. And the girls, we have seamstresses there that work there. They couldn't perfect the shape. So it ended up, they did the best they could, but that's what I had. And that's what I had to work with, So I went out there and made the best, did the best I could do with it. But at the end of the day, Vince was quite happy with it. It was that era of weird gimmicks, we had Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Adam Bomb, Mantar, you name it. We had some really bad gimmicks at the time. So Aldo wasn't too bad, if you think about it.
Mantar, it's one of them, innit, that comes up on the videos, like the weird.
He's horrible. He was horrible. He always hurt me in the ring. He was terrible.
How was it like? How was Drosy? Because I've had Duke on, I've had Mike on the show last year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was cool, man. Yeah. Mike was cool. I liked Mike a lot. He was a nice guy. He was pretty talented too, man. He had a good look. I'm surprised he never really did anything else in the business,
I think that, if it wasn't the age of the gimmick,
yeah,
but he, as yourself, he embraced it. He embraced it, man. He did what he had to do. And I tell you what, when I was watching it, when he was going up against Hunter, It was a good feud. He had a good feud with Hunter from what I could see from a fan perspective. He made the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Hunter's gimmick was he did a good job of it, but it was kind of corny. You know what I mean? It's like, and to make a little bit of a segue, I think that's why ECW was so powerful, even though it was a smaller promotion, because the real diehard wrestling fans wanted something less campy, less, childish. And it was just wrestlers being wrestlers. And that's what really fueled ECW. It was, not any of these silly gimmicks. It was more old school wrestling, really. It was more like Terry Funk style Texas old school wrestling,
The younger talents at that time frame in WWF, who could you see that was going to make it? He wasn't quite placed on the card, where high up in the card at that point. Who could you foresee? Who could you tell a mile off was going to make it and be a big deal?
Well, one person that a lot of people didn't see coming. I knew him because of the small time I spent on the independent circuit around here. But Scott Taylor. He was an enhancement talent as well around the same time. And I got my break before he did. He got his break a little later. He was one of them I saw was going to make it. We all knew Hunter was going to make it at some point. Like, even though he got punished for the curtain call in Madison Square Garden, he had a bright future ahead of him. Who else was really X-Pac 1, 2, 3 kid?
Nice. Just
he brilliant guy. So he was always, up there as well.
It's like watching him prior with Jerry Lynn, matches that I saw years later, prior to WWF, man. You could just see
insane.
It. He was so good. For a smaller guy, as you were saying, it was a land of the giants at that point.
Yeah.
Talent is talent, man. And I know obviously then they did the angle with Razor, didn't they, with Scott?
Right. Yeah.
Which propelled him. Just incredible.
Yeah, he was right. Yeah, yeah, he was really, really good, and and it was just a matter of time, really, and we all kind of had our own little successes. We all had different paths to get there, but he was he's a Hall of Famer now, and he deserved it. He worked really hard and loves this business to this day. I still talk to him once in a while, and he's doing great. So I'm glad for him.
Pull up, because you've said about the curtain call. Were you at MSG that night? You must have been.
I was.
That all happened. What was it like from your perspective, being backstage when all that happened?
Well, I was traveling with those guys then. Yeah, I was in the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, Razor's like, don't you dare come out there. And I'm like, I'm not, because they'll fire your ass. Because they punished Hunter too. Like if it was somebody like me out there, your ass would get fired. So he goes, "Don't you dare," But they knew they were going to do that for a long time. So yeah, they just did it. Vince knew too, because they asked Vince's permission. Vince said no, but they did it anyways. So and Shawn didn't get punished because he was the world champion at the time. So they took it out on poor Hunter, which now is the father or the son-in-law to the boss. So how much did that really hurt?
Incredible.
Yeah.
What was everyone else like that night? Obviously, with them two jumping ship, was there? Do you think there was any panic at that point that they would?
Well, there was, yeah. Yep.
What in terms of how was their panic?
Well, it was, first of all, a lot of the guys were mad that they broke kayfabe like that, because back then it was still something that was kept very serious in the WWF before they were WWE. So a lot of the guys were mad. And you could tell when Scott and Kevin left that, big money was being offered to these guys, and times were tough for Vince. This was around the steroid trial, so he was going into his pocket for his defense. And the houses were down. Guys weren't making a lot of money. I remember Razor telling me the best year he had there was like $250,000 for the IC title run, for that year, which I mean, still a lot of money, but not what people would imagine. And certainly not what WCW offered. They were like, they offered him close to $1 million a year, and so you can't, Vince was just worried about how do I compete with that, because he didn't have the deep pockets that, a company like, Ted Turner and TBS, which is, a major media conglomerate. So it was tough, man. It was tough. But as always, Vince, it almost seemed like he needed that pressure to change course, and which came the Attitude Era then, and obviously we know the rest of it,
Going in terms of money and stuff, like obviously he told you how much he got in his best year. Was it hush hush amongst the boys what
Yes.
people were earning, or
Yes.
It was never discussed. Because I could imagine that could be the biggest heat magnet for you guys. So it was kept under the carpet. What people?
Yeah. Well, and then because back then we all had the same contracts. Our contracts were all basic, and they only guaranteed you 10, and this is insane. They only guaranteed you 10 matches. You signed for 3 years. They guaranteed you 10 matches at the base rate of $150 a match. That's all they offered you. That was your only guarantee. Everything else moving forward was based on your position on the card and how much money's at the gate. So if you're at the Garden and the house, money wise, the tickets after they add them up makes $500,000, then you're going to get a nice payday. And if you're somewhere else where they maybe sell 2,500 tickets and it's $75,000, you're going to make considerably less. So it kind of mattered what town you were in, where you were placed on the card. And if you drew, like if you were in the top spot and you drew money, you made the bulk of the money that night. It was like a percentage, you know what I mean? Top guys made the most, the main event, and downward. So, Aldo, when I was Aldo, I was making anywhere between $750 and $300 a night, so that was kind of where I was at, in the Garden, I'd make probably a little more, like 1,000, but I was still working we were on European tours all the time. Sometimes I'd be gone for 30, 40 days without coming home, wrestling every single night. So it wasn't like I wasn't making money, but you were working hard for that money. Let me tell you, the touring was hard.
How was that for you? If you want to go into a bit more specifics with that, doing those length of tours, which it doesn't happen. It wouldn't happen these days, would it?
No,
You're not on the road like that.
No, I loved it because I was single. I wasn't married. I lived at home with my mom and dad, because I was 21, 22. Mm-hmm. And I was gone so much, I didn't need a place, so it was great. I got to travel the world. I loved it. I wouldn't have liked it, after I had children and got married and such, because it was very straining and difficult. Because I remember doing a 30-day tour of Japan after I had my first child, and it was horrible, just being away for 30 days. That's 1 full month out of the year, and not seeing your family, very difficult. But I wish, in some ways though, I kind of wish they would bring back touring to some capacity like that after COVID and stuff, because it sharpened your skills up so much. It was a great experience. And I don't think the wrestlers coming today are as good because of it, because they don't get as much game. It's like almost like in any sport, like you get practice and you're in there in front of crowds. There's nothing like that. You can go to a performance center and you could work out. There's nothing like getting out there in front of an audience. And I think that's vital to the up and coming of any rising pro wrestler,
Where were some of your favorite places? I'm assuming you went to Portugal, but within the confines of Europe, where did you live? Where was the cultures and different? But I'm sure you got a list.
I love going to London. I loved Birmingham. I loved Germany. Germany was a great place. All Switzerland was great. I mean, just all the European tours were so much fun. England was the best. That was my favorite place because, I love the culture. For a while, I wanted to move to London, believe it or not. It was just something that I was so into the European culture, because my mom and dad now they're back in Portugal, and they travel. They travel abroad and stuff. Yeah. So I kind of was thinking of going over there, but then, I have family here that, and my children are university and stuff. So I could do that now, but I always wanted to try, but, didn't work out.
Did you get to Wales? Did you get to Cardiff on any of these tours? That's down the south for me.
I did get to Wales. I did not get to Cardiff, and I didn't go to Scotland or Ireland either, which is a shame, but I don't know why either. But I just remember the last time I was there was working at the O2, and that was, I think, 2002 or 2001, if I'm not mistaken. When the O2 was built, it was like right after the old Wembley got knocked down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, you're on the right time frame there.
And I actually wrestled once at Royal Albert Hall.
What a venue! And that's another one. I know they've gone back NXT more recently.
Oh, have they?
A couple of years ago. But the one I remember going back a bit, it was 91, the Battle Royal at the Albert Hall with Bulldog. But yeah, what a venue! I've not had the opportunity to go there, but I can imagine just.
It was great. It held about 2,500 people, and it reminded me very much of the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. You know, is kind of just that old style theater. Yeah. You know, it was really cool. Very nice. You know, the architecture was amazing.
I hope that they're on about. I think AEW was saying obviously before all this that they were going to run a show there, which would be amazing if they do follow through on going on to that.
That would be great. I hope so. I hope we get back to touring. You know, I'd love to go to England one last time before it's all said and done. It'd be nice.
Fingers crossed for you, man. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
What I think maybe we could talk about the crowds and how the UK crowd differed to the US crowd for you as a performer. What were the differences, if any at all?
Very loud, very passionate. A lot of chanting, a lot of football chants. You know, like old school soccer football chants and stuff. It was just awesome. They were, they were so excited to see us. Every time we went there, it was almost like you didn't have to work as hard, like, because they just made the show for you. They were just so loud and so awesome that, it was like, it gave you goosebumps. It's like, well, they'd spoil you. It's like, why can't we get this at home? And it was always sold out. There was always a packed crowd. And it was awesome. They were the best fans in the world.
I've done many WrestleManias going over there, and I tell you what, when we turn up, they dispute. They say 10, 15,000 Brits were going over for Mania, and they were on like a travel package, and the Americans were going crazy because they kept chanting travel package. They were like, "We don't give a fuck about your travel package." It was like we took the arena over when they say about that Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. It was it's the Europeans. It's the Europeans.
That's awesome, but that's what I love about it. Man. That's great.
We must have had 50% of the capacity in that arena the following night, and it was crazy. CM Punk said it as well. He said it was a European soccer style.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
We're mental. We're mental over here. I stand by that. We're not we're not wired right over here.
I think it's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
I think this would be perfect now to segue into you joining ECW. How did that come to be? I'm sure you got so many stories about Mr. Heyman. I love Mr. Heyman, man. Big fan.
I pretty much had, after it was this was 97 now we're talking, and Aldo Montoya had almost run its course. I was still being booked and used on television and stuff, but less and less. And Scott and Kevin had been there for a while now in WCW, and Scott was always telling me, "Get your release from Vince. I'll get I'll call Bischoff and try to get you a job down here." So I went to the office. I had a meeting with Vince, and I asked him. I said, "Can I get my release, Vince?" I said, "I feel like I'm getting to a point where I could help you and your company more than I'm helping." And, and I'm not doing anything. I'm getting frustrated, and I was becoming, I was having good matches on the road, like really good matches with everyone. And I was just getting frustrated because I wasn't, creatively, I wasn't doing anything, and I wanted to grow. And he goes, "Well, pal, I can't, it's a bad look for any one of my guys to get released and then go over to WCW. It just sends a bad message." He goes, "What I will do is, I could send you to Memphis to learn how to work as a heel, and then we'll bring you back up with a different gimmick." And I said, "Okay." So I went down to Memphis, worked for Jerry Lawler, for 6 weeks, and that was okay. But I wasn't learning anything down there. It wasn't the old Memphis that it once was. It was a small developmental. Rocky Maivia was down there. The Rock was down there at the same time as I was. And so after 6 weeks, the last day of my stay in Memphis territory, ECW was doing an angle with Jerry Lawler. So Heyman, Chris Candido, Tommy Dreamer, Sabu, and Van Dam were down there. And Candido was a good friend of mine from Skip and Sonny days in the WWE. And Chris said, he was Paul's right-hand man at the time. And Chris is like, why don't you come work for Paul? It's a good deal. He goes, it's fun. It's not like anything you've ever seen before. I'm doing well, making money, and it's awesome. And I said, get it done. So Paul went to Vince and got my contract from Vince for himself. And there was the birth of Justin Credible.
What was it like going from, WWF, going there? I've seen obviously a lot of backstage videos, obviously beyond the mat with Paul Heyman rallying the troops. What were the guys like in the back with you when you first came in? Were they happy?
Yeah, everybody was really nice. Yeah, everybody was very nice, very welcoming. It was cool. It was a great experience, and I was nervous because the ECW fans were brutally honest, and knowing that I was Aldo Montoya, I felt that they would probably get on me for it, which I was lucky enough that I my debut in the ECW arena, my second ever match was against Jerry Lynn, and we went out there and just kind of stole the show that first time, so I really didn't give the fans much of an opportunity to shit on me. So I got lucky there working with Jerry, and the rest is history.
Who else did you enjoy in the early portion there? Who was great? Who was maybe a different style that you hadn't wrestled before? Obviously, it was a total different program, wasn't it, down there, what they were doing? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just learned many different styles, man, all different. Like, I'd never brawled before, just like how ECW has brawls. And I never worked, I worked with Hakushi in WWE, but I never worked with a lot of Japanese talent. And in ECW, I worked with a lot of guys from Japan, like the great Sasuke, and a bunch of guys from FMW promotion and so forth. So it was just, I was constantly growing. I worked with Mike Awesome, who had been in Japan a lot, and Masato Tanaka, and just all kinds of different stuff. Even working with guys like Dreamer was great because, it was a different kind of storytelling. It was different than anything I've ever done. It was on a different level. Because in WWE, I was more of a, mid card to lower card guy. And in ECW, I was playing a main event role. So I was really still learning at the time from those guys, and couldn't have been better, just having a blast.
It was definitely perfect for you, wasn't it?
Really was.
The evolution for you, it was a great.
And the money was actually better for me, believe it or not. I was making good money down there. I was making, at the end of my ECW run, I was making $2,500 a week, to wrestle Friday and Saturday, and be home. I was home more, and I was still making six figures. Couldn't beat it, couldn't beat it. And I was kind of in charge of my own destiny. I had a lot of say and input into my storylines and such. So I was loving it,
How was Paul? Have you got some stories about Paul around that time? Just anything you can share with us?
Paul was great. He is everything you probably imagine he could be. He is. He's the devil and he's Jesus all in one. He really is. He's a great talker, and he could talk his way out of anything. Like, you could go into a meeting with Paul super mad at him and want to kick his ass, and then completely be in love with him after you leave. He's the ultimate player, dude. He's amazing. He's a good bullshit artist, that's for sure. But that's his gift, man. He always knew how to tell you what you want to hear. Let's say that. He was very good at it. He was very good at making you believe in yourself, and giving you that courage to go forward, which, is needed at times in this crazy business.
like the pep talks and him getting into you about do this, do that. It was just like, I suppose it just gave the talent, it just gave him 110% rather than
absolutely.
Just a master with words. Like, I love seeing footage of him when he's like ramped up with the guys backstage. I love stuff like that.
That's how he was. How he was. That's how he was. And he was a better motivator than he was a booker. People always think, Paul Heyman was this great booking mind. There became a time where Paul wasn't even booking that much anymore. He was just more or less trying to keep ECW alive. Tommy Dreamer actually was doing most of the booking, and Heyman was just, but he was that guy that would make you he made a locker room full of people that maybe didn't do anything anywhere else and made them all believe that they were something special. And you know what I mean? And got them to almost overperform and outperform any expectations that they might have had previously. So he was very good as a motivator, and very talented.
I think we can shoot over to the formation of the Impact players. I know you were doing stuff with Jason Knight. I'm still a big fan of Jason Knight. They need to get him on. The show. Actually, I've been messaging him. I will get him on eventually. But yeah, the formation of the Impact players with you and Lance Storm. How did that come to be? I think we'll talk about
that. I don't even remember how that happened. I just remember one day. Paul saying he's going to put us together. And it wasn't, at first it wasn't, he didn't give us the name Impact Players per se. He just kind of said, you and Lance are going to be working together a little bit. And it just slowly, very organically started to become something, we didn't even plan a lot. That's the wonderful thing about it, was we didn't plan a lot of stuff. It just kind of naturally started to happen, which I guess is why it was so cool. And being that Lance and I had known each other, from, all the way back in Calgary, it was effortless for us. So we were just out there having a great time. And, and what made the team work, I think, in my opinion, was we were two opposites. Like I was, trash talking, brawling heel, and he was more of a technical, quiet, but yet stern and strict guy that's taken very seriously. And together, it just was like we were the best of both worlds, So I think that's one of the reasons it worked.
It's a perfect dynamic, I've watched your promos back as well. They were very good. And then obviously Dawn Marie as well involved.
Yeah.
You're very good. You were very good on the stick, man. I'm not just.
Thank you.
I'm not just blowing smoke there. No,
Thank you.
It oozed believability for a fan.
Yeah.
For a fan like myself, but
right on.
How, who were you getting in there with at the time? Who did you enjoy battling as a tag team? How did it differ being tag into singles, because you were so used to singles as well?
It was a lot easier because, it was almost like, when you're in a singles match, the responsibility always landed on me. I was always the one who called everything in the ring. I like to talk a lot in the ring. I like to call things out there very much. I like to ad lib, do stuff on the fly, and improvise. And with tag team wrestling, it's like, we split that responsibility. So you have more time to kind of get your character over, really, when you're on the outside of the ring. And, it's a nice dynamic. I actually love tag team wrestling, although I hadn't done anything like that, never been in a tag team before or since the Impact Players, which is kind of, well, X Factor I did, but with Lance, we just knew each other so well. It was so easy. It was almost like stealing candy from a baby easy. We just went out there and had fun, and we got to work with everybody. I mean, we got to work with the Dudleys, Raven and Tommy Dreamer. We got to work with the Japanese team of what were they called? Jado and Gato from FMW, which were a very popular tag team at the time. We did a lot of stuff over there, man. It was really cool. It was really cool. Worked with Balls and Axel as well. So, we had a lot of fun.
That's a mix again. I go back to this. What a mix of guys, man. It's just, I don't know, to the best of my knowledge, that we had it early on when you jumped over in 97. I just remember it being on television over here from like maybe 99, 2000. So
yeah,
I missed so much, and it was like loads of so much decent stuff that was done prior to that. But
yeah,
it's just I wish I could have seen it all the time. I watched it later on, but
yeah,
somebody in the UK should have been televising it. It would have
I know.
it would have done fantastic early on.
Well, just the way Paul was getting it out there, like I don't know how it is over there, but over here back then, I don't even know if this exists anymore. In local markets, you literally late at night, and this is how he did it. We didn't have a television deal. Paul was paying these cable providers for what we call infomercials, like where you sell stuff, and you're basically paying for that. So Paul would just take those spots in big markets that we wanted to run shows in. And, we had a one in New York, we had one in, Boston, one in, wherever we ran, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Florida, Texas, but basically it was paid television late at night. And so it wouldn't have been syndicated. That's the thing. Like, that's why you guys didn't get it until TNN, was because literally we were paying to air those programs, So that's why I kind of missed the boat over there. But yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely insane. But he was smart about it,
With everything, I remember watching an authorized ECW on the network when they had the Taz and everyone. They did like a sit down round table thing, didn't they? And they were saying about him getting round, pumping the music in at the venue. It wasn't like it wasn't a direct feed of the music. It was just little things like that he could get around, couldn't he?
Yes, right.
The legal side, that's him all over, innit? There'd always be a loop. Yeah. There'd always be a loophole that he would get around, which because
that was the music was the biggest part of it.
Oh my days, we had everything. The Offspring. I'm trying to think. Metallica.
Everything.
Your entrance music was amazing as well. Like loved it.
And that's the thing is, like, we used popular music from the time. It was like it was perfect because music and wrestling goes hand in hand, and that's one thing that's missing today. And I guess it costs a lot of money to do it, but Paul was just super smart, man, and got away with it. I don't know how he did it, but he certainly got away with it, and that's what helped make ECW so great.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your right-hand man, a weapon that you use many, many times, the kendo stick. When was the birth of the kendo stick? How did that come about?
I got the kendo stick when I had a feud with the Sandman, and he was about to leave to go to WCW, and then he came back eventually. But after he left, I got the kendo stick from him in an angle. So then that's when it became mine to use, which was, again, great. And I seem to have benefited from all those other guys leaving, right? It's like, everybody that left, it's like I beat them and then they went away. So it was cool for me and made me look like $1 million,
And then we've got to speak about the world title run as well. I've got to ask you about that. You beat Tommy Dreamer. How was that night? When was it pitched to you that was going to be happening with on the creative side?
I didn't find out, believe it or not, until maybe an hour beforehand. Because when you get to the building, you look. They have a sheet of paper with the matches. Written by hand on a piece of paper, and whoever's winning is circled. And my name wasn't on it. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not doing anything tonight, which was weird because Lance and I were the tag team champions at the time. So I'm like, I'm not wrestling tonight. That's weird, but whatever. And about an hour before, I think it was intermission, Paul Heyman came up to me and told me what was going to go down. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm coming out of here. I thought it wasn't working, but I'm coming out world champion. I could do that. It's like winning the lottery.
How was the match for you? With obviously, I know you've got a lot of respect for Tommy Dreamer.
It wasn't much of a match because Dreamer had wrestled Taz. And basically after he won the belt from Taz, they had a long speech and Tommy gave a speech and whatever. After Tommy was done with his promo, I came to the ring with both tag belts, threw them down and said, I'm not, screw the tag team titles. I want that, and I just kicked him, hit him with my finish, 1, 2, 3. So it was just like, I felt like Steve Austin, kick stunner, 1, 2, 3 out. That's pretty much what I did. I hit him with the tombstone, and that was it. But it was cool, man.
Heel 101 right there. That's how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Draw the heat. What were the crowd like from your perspective in that?
Oh, they couldn't believe it. They hated me. They hated me, man.
That's the ultimate compliment, though, as a heel. Sure, you're doing your job. You're doing your job.
Yeah.
That must have just been like amazing.
Yeah, we were all so happy, and it was surreal to me. I couldn't have been happier. We all couldn't have been. We were all very happy, with it. So it was awesome.
What were your feelings? Obviously, the Dudleys went over to WWE in '99. Taz then came in, didn't he? 2004 Angle at the Rumble in 2000. What were your thoughts and feelings when they were going over to WWF? What did you think?
I was okay with it. I mean, I thought it was good for them. And because in wrestling, those guys had been with the company since it started. And I thought, there's a time, in this day and age, there's a time and place where you've done all you can do. I think Taz had done everything you could do in ECW, and so did the Dudleys. And, it was time for them to go and make money, and they did. I just, I was just very comfortable there, and never really got the opportunity, to go, because I was so, loyal to Paul, because he'd done so much for me. I was so happy with the company that, so it just worked out. It worked out perfectly for me, at least, all the way up until it closed, I guess. But, it was great. I didn't mind those guys going. I wish, I was happy for them.
Did you think the Dudleys were going to be, hit the stratosphere they hit, the way they hit it so soon?
I did not. I didn't see that coming.
Did you think it was going to be a diluted version? I know obviously it was quite risque, the product in WWE at that time anyway, but yeah. Sorry, I jumped in then.
No, that's okay. That's quite all right. No, I didn't think they were. I mean, they were ridiculously over, and they did a lot of amazing stuff. So no, I mean, I guess I underestimated them because they were brilliant over there. They did wonderfully, and couldn't have been happier for them.
Right place, right time, isn't it? It's just like,
absolutely. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game in this business. It's timing is such an important thing. A lot of people sometimes don't understand and get frustrated, as well as myself. But it really is. In my career, that's all it's about, has been timing. And when it's right, it's right. You can't kind of go around it.
Who in the latter portion of ECW, that 2000 in 2001, and obviously the subsequent closure, which guys were coming through? I know we were seeing like the likes of Rhino, people like which of the younger crop were coming through that you really liked?
Steve Corino. Yeah. Steve Corino. Yeah, he was amazing. He was really, really good. Dusty Rhodes came in to work a feud with him, and Dusty Rhodes made him. I mean, Corino was amazing. He was just great. And he really helped us, at the end. And he actually became ECW champion. So, Corino was definitely great.
Good on the mic as well.
Amazing.
I remember the promos. Yeah. I hated. He was doing what he. I hated him. I appreciated what he could do as a talent in the ring, but yeah, that sometimes you're a bastard.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He really got me going when we were watching it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. I think we can go back to when you were back with WWF, WWE.
Yeah.
That's a perfect spot now. I think we can talk about coming back.
Yeah.
How it differed to when you were there the first time round.
It was completely different. It was corporate. It was just everything had changed. It just was so much bigger than it was in '97, and this is only realistically 4 years later, almost. It was just so different. And I remember. I was the first tour I went on. I was traveling with, it was me, X-Pac, Hunter, and William Regal. And we were in a car together, and Pac started rolling up a joint, and we were smoking it in the parking lot. And then it was on Raw. And then the next day at SmackDown, Stephanie pulls me aside and is like, PJ, come here. And I'm like, what, Steph? She goes, we can't do that anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I saw you guys smoking, because I guess she was dating Paul at the time already. It was just not public. She goes, yeah, and she's like, you got a kayfabe. I'm like, oh, okay, you know. So things right there, I just knew, oh shit, things are like really different, you know.
Which guy?
But it was still cool, you know. It was still cool.
You were put with Shawn. You were with Albert as well as the X Factor.
Yep.
I was watching a match actually. It was like pre WrestleMania 17. I'd never seen it before. You guys against Grandmaster Sexay and Steve Blackman, and it was at the Astrodome prior to Mania.
Yes.
That looked incredible because it looked jam packed to the rafters even that time early on. But how was it being an X Factor? How was that, having that match and all those people there, man?
It was great. It was awesome. It was very exciting. You know, they were going to, you know, we had a feud with the Dudleys when we first came in, which was good. And it allowed us, because we had Albert, the three of us, to do 6-man tags because Spike was there as well. So it was Spike, Devon, and Bubba against me, Albert, and Kid. So we had fun with that. And then, you know, the unfortunate thing was WCW went out of business. We were supposed to get a world title shot, a tag title shot, and get the belts for a little bit. And when they did the alliance in ECW, you know, the ECW WCW alliance, they broke up X Factor, and I went with the alliance. Kid went with WWE, or you know, he took some time off or whatever. And then everybody kind of, with the influx of talent, a lot of people got lost in the shuffle, and I was kind of one of them, unfortunately, you know, because they had so many guys that just flooded from WCW and everywhere else, you know, ECW. There was, you know, we went from 3 promotions in the world, or in the United States, I should say, to now 1. So, you know, can you imagine all those guys without jobs, and, you know, and whoever's in the WWE vying for a position on television? It was just very difficult, you know. So a lot of casualties to that, and I was certainly one of them, I believe. You know,
how was the pay? Obviously, all them guys are coming in. Did you?
The pay was good.
Oh,
the pay was good. I made the most money I ever made in my life that year.
Wow.
I made $250,000. It was, you know, I was happy. You know, not bad.
You had the hardcore title 8 times.
Yeah, but everybody had the hardcore title.
It's still on your resume, PJ.
That's all I got. It sounds good when you say it. That's all.
I used to love the hardcore stuff. I know it was diluted ECWS, but it was humorous for the most part. Like
it was. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think who you wrestled doing that. Everyone, wasn't it? It was just like
everybody that wasn't doing anything, like Raven, myself, Steve Blackman, you know, you name it. I mean, everybody. That was the way to get everybody kind of like on the show. Like Gold Dust at the time, you know, and anybody that wasn't doing anything was in that. So, but still, it was all right. Look, we were all making money. We were all happy. We were working. So, you know, nothing wrong with that.
I'm getting to like 2002 now, and I know I've seen you. I've heard you talk about the plane ride from hell various times in interviews, but I'm going to ask you about the plane ride from hell. It's actually going to be on Dark Side of the Ring as an episode. I did it. I was part of it. Wow.
Yeah. So I'll be on that episode. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those days, man. You know, and we were coming actually from England, as a matter of fact.
Insurrection.
Insurrection. Yeah. And it was. I mean, look, it was a lot of guys that were tired, and a lot of booze, and you could just imagine from there. You know, and everybody's heard the stories, but it was ridiculous. And I don't even. You know, it's funny, because I have to actually go back myself and listen to some stuff, because now it's like the tail has become so large that I don't even know what was real and what's like. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So many perspectives, so many guys, you know, Shawn.
And it was so long ago as well.
2002, man. It's like, it's 19 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember shit, dude. So I'm like, is that even real? Or I've heard myself say it so many times that I just think that's what it is. But look, it was, Scott Hall got fired. I ended up bringing him through customs in a wheelchair, passed out, and it was crazy. And I was probably one of the most sober guys on the plane. Not the most, because there was Lance and I think Dreamer was on that. But for me to be like aware and cognizant on that trip.
I wish I wish some footage had come out of that. I wish there was a camera. Just like
if it was this era with cell phones, forget it.
Oh my days! It's just like, as you say, there's been so many tales of it from different people's perspective. People look at it so different, but it's just like, Kurt Hennig and Lesnar going at it, and they're by the exit door, and they're having like a full-on amateur wrestling fight. It's just like
ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Undertaker choking out Kurt Angle because he's got Vince. He's doing something with Vince. Flair naked. That's nothing out of the ordinary. He was doing that.
No, that's just another day. That's just another day.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall on that trip, man. I swear.
It was definitely fun, that's for sure. And we had to do Raw on Monday because that was we did England. I think it was London, right? Insurrection was in London at the O2, right?
Yeah.
And then we went from the O2. We flew out of, was it Gatwick? No.
Heathrow?
Maybe. No. I think it was Gatwick because we had the private plane. I'm not sure because normally we fly Heathrow, but that was commercial. But anyways. We went from there to JFK, and in that time, man, so much debauchery went down. It was absolutely ridiculous. And then we had Sunday to kind of, get right with ourselves, and then we had Monday Night Raw. So, like, you know what I mean? We went from that Sunday off, and then do Raw Monday. So yeah, it was insane, dude. It was crazy.
What did you do after obviously leaving WWE? Where did you then go? What were you doing around that time after leaving?
I went everywhere. I did a tour or two of Japan for All Japan Pro Wrestling. I wrestled Ring of Honor, TNA, all the way up until the rebranding of ECW, pretty much.
I was watching some matches from obviously the reboot of ECW, and then one that everyone talks about, CM Punk
yes.
first coming up. What were your thoughts about him? Obviously, we'd seen him in TNA, we'd seen him in Ring of Honor, we'd seen him in the Independents. Obviously, could you see that guy being the level he was going to get to?
I didn't. I knew he had ability. His in-ring ability certainly said yes, but I had no idea his skills on the microphone and his way of, the way he did business, his passion and the way he was. I mean, I loved him. I got along with him. Punk was great. But I didn't see it coming that he was going to be this enigma, this megastar that he became, Didn't see it coming.
What did you think of the product they were putting together down there? We've heard, obviously, it was diluted. It wasn't what it was meant to be. What were your thoughts and feelings from a personal standpoint?
Same thing. It was horrible. It was so horrible that I just stopped showing up because I was doing jobs left and right after a while. Mm-hmm. I was there for a couple months, like 3 or 4 months, and I was not making good money at all. And I kept putting guys over, kind of killing my ECW credibility. And, I think my last match for them was against Balls Mahoney. And I had to I actually beat Balls by DQ because he hit me with the chair, which was stupid. And then I got my plane ticket to go to do the taping, and I just didn't get on the plane. Just didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm not making good money. I'm killing my character. And that was it. I quit. Did
you contact the office, or did you just? No.
I just didn't show up. I was so pissed because here's what happened, man. The money was so bad that I got into a situation when I left for the airport that morning, I didn't have enough money for gas. And it's not like I was doing anything shifty or wrong. The checks weren't coming in. There weren't. And I'm like, if I got to sit here and ask my old man who works in a factory to borrow money to get to the goddamn airport, and I'm working for the WWE. Screw yourself. I'm not going. And that was it. I didn't call. I didn't care. It was just, you know, and then they gave me another chance, and then I just told them, don't bother. They didn't even fire me then. They're like, oh no, just come next week. You're fine. I'm like, no, I'm good. Don't bother. You know, and that was it.
It's just that I think, like, looking at it now, they should have just done that. They should have done that one night stand in 2005, which was perfectly done. It was brilliant. Yep. It was so.
And leave it alone.
You had all the old guys. They brought Jericho in, didn't they? They had Benoit. They were all involved. You know, Tanaka and Michael Olsen were absolutely fantastic. Yep. It was a great match. It was the environment in Hammerstein that night was amazing. And then the one in 2006, it was just so heavy.
Yeah.
WWE guys, it was ridiculous. Like. The writing was on the wall, like
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And then obviously Paul Heyman into December to dismember. He just had enough, hadn't he? That it was just they had to can it, but such a shame. But they should just have done that. I think, fan perspective, they should have just done that first one night stand and called it.
I agree.
That was it.
I agree.
I know there's been reincarnations. But with ECW guys, which is cool, and that's great for the nostalgia with the fans and stuff. I agree with that because it was all you guys that were involved originally. But yeah, just one of them things, man.
Yeah, I agree.
PJ, I want to ask you about something I loved that you did years ago. Your YouTube series, Wrestling 101. And
okay.
You replied to me actually. I used to leave comments we're going back about 7 or 8 years, man. Do you know what? I love them videos, man. Your
right on.
Insight. How was that putting that together? Doing that?
It was actually done it was very easy to do. I came up with the idea, and a friend of mine that I had met through the WWE network. He was in between jobs. I think WWE had let him go. So he was like, you know, I could come to your house. I shot all of those in, the first batch. Then I did a couple on the road. But I did the first batch of them at home in my garage. We changed backdrops and I changed t-shirts. And I just spoke a couple of minutes about certain topics. And we banged it out, and he would produce them and put, just shine them up and cut them up nicely, put some music to it. And it was just an idea to kind of just put something out there to stay relevant in some way, because YouTube is a big thing in wrestling these days, and was then as well. It was just a way to kind of keep doing something positive in wrestling, keeping my voice out there.
It was fresh, man, because no one else.
Yeah.
You honestly, I loved that. I sent out to all my wrestling friends and the fans, like. Brilliant, honestly, man. They were so good. I really enjoyed them. I actually liked it. When you had the new one coming out, I was always looking forward to like what you were going to do next, what the topic was going to be, man. It was really informative. Give us insight. It was brilliant, man. I loved it.
Oh, right on. I'm glad.
Honestly, man.
I'm glad. That's awesome.
You replied to me as well. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I always tried, man. I always tried to. I love all fans, and I always try to do the best I can to be as honest as I can, and to be here for people. I mean, especially now when we have these amazing tools to communicate and connect with one another across the world. It's you should use it. So I always just tried to do the best I could to stay up with it, and to help people as much as I can.
I think a perfect point now for us would be tips for young guys that are getting into the business. I know it's totally different now to when you were doing it. Things have changed a lot, man. It's evolved. Some fans don't like the modern style at all, do they? I still like it all. I like, I do too. It'll encompass everything. I'll always follow it. I don't bash it. I try not to bash it. What would be Justin Credible, PJ Polacco's tips for these young guys that are getting into the biz?
Just really learn your basics. I couldn't say enough how important the basics are for a young man or woman, guys or gals getting into the business. Just learn your basics, because when you go to the WWE or anywhere else, quite frankly, the basics are what is going to make you or break you. And the rest will come. The high spots and the cool stuff, that all comes with time. But if you're good at technical wrestling and a good at your basics and bumps and really know your craft, the rest comes easy. So in just like that, it's as simple as that. Just like really know how to bump properly, know how to respect and treat your opponents, not to hurt them, and just learn the basics. That's listen. I'll tell you a quick story because I'm about to lose power and I don't want to cut this short, but I don't want it to just shut down. One time I was doing a dark match. There was a dark match on before me. I was in gorilla position, and these two young kids had a tryout for Vince, and it was Vince and Pat at gorilla. And they looked great. They locked up. And when they locked up, Pat Patterson left the room right away. And Vince goes, "Pat, where the hell are you going? These guys are getting a tryout. I want you to look at this." And Pat turns to Vince. He goes, "Vince, if they can't lock up, they can't fucking work." Done. Simple as that.
Yeah, and they had the look and all that. They couldn't do that basic thing. Well, I'm calling it basic. I probably couldn't lock up.
It is, but it is basic. But that's what I mean. If you got your basics down, then the rest of the stuff will happen.
You're halfway there. You're halfway there of it, man.
Really, yeah. And the basics are actually hard. So, if you could do those properly, you will get there,
In terms of guys now in the current product doing it, which guys do you like watching? Maybe 2 or 3 guys that you like watching in the modern product.
I love watching Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page, Ray Phoenix. Hands
down, he's the best. Hangman by a mile. Yeah. I could see it. I could see it in Ring of Honor. Sorry, I've jumped in.
That's okay.
I love him. I love that man. I tell you, that's just star quality, and that's something you can't teach. It's everything about him. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I just love it. I'm passionate, man.
Yeah, no, that's all good, man. And I think Page, Ray Phoenix, and I love Jungle Boy. I think those are my 3 picks.
No disrespect, to Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. It's been a great faction.
Right.
Needs to go on his own now, I think. Which it could be detrimental to them too, which would be a shame because they're talented, they're good, but he's right. He needs. I know he's had singles matches. He's had MJF, he's had Jericho. I'm in full agreement with Jungle Boy, man. Do you think they'll do that? Do you think they'll put him on his own eventually?
Eventually, sure. Yeah, he's got a long way to go as far as he's got all the time in the world. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt. But I think he's got all the talent in the world. I'm a big fan. Definitely.
You can see it as well. I'm sure from your perspective because you were young in the business. You were his age, and you were in it, man. So
I don't know him personally, but I've heard people that know him and knew his dad that he is very, very dedicated to this business. And his dad, Luke Perry, who I was a fan of, was really wonderful and supportive of him getting like the best wrestling training and like really helping him get kind of staying focused. So I'm a huge fan of his and his family, and I wish him nothing but the best. He's a good dude,
Who in terms of WWE, PJ, who's is a nobody really at the moment?
No, there are. I to be fair, I don't really watch the product. I watch AEW because I do the AEW review show with Vince Russo. Yeah, but I don't watch WWE really, so it would be unfair for me to kind of say.
We're very happy what they've been doing with Drew. I just feel
he's awesome.
Awesome. I just feel for him because he's not at the crowd, but hopefully working this program with Lashley now, it's good.
Yeah, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. They need him now.
Bobby Lashley, Bobby Lashley, man. Look how many years he was away, and he's doing fantastic, man. I know.
Yeah,
I'm going on about WWE. Who else in AEW? Maybe that in the tag wrestling, maybe because that's a solid department, I find.
I'm not sure. They have a lot going on right now, so I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to hold my thought on that one. So I really don't, because they have a bunch of different teams, but I haven't seen enough of them, like Top Flight and these other guys. So I'm just not sure yet.
No, that's not fine. Sure yet. That's fine, man. That's fine. I think that I've heard discussions. I don't know how much truth is in this. They're on about there's been talk of a third hour, but I don't think they should.
No,
I think that the pitfalls are going to be the same like you have with Raw, where you have a slow hour.
Right. Because it's too much. It becomes too much. You know, 3 hours of anything is a lot, right? And to do it every week, it's just, you're going to lose people. So 2 hours is a great thing. Keep it the way it is, you know.
What did you think of Revolution? I'm assuming you've watched it. 'Cause you do
I watched it. I thought it was okay. The main event was good. It was a shame what happened at the end because those guys worked so darn hard. You know, it's criminal actually what happened. But you would have thought that somebody would have done a test run, right, to see how that would work. I can't believe that they didn't. But you know, the show was okay. I'm concerned for them in that way because it seems like their pay-per-views are not getting better; they're getting worse. It's like their first couple pay-per-views were much better, and because they're trying too hard to do too much shit. They wanted to be different from the WWE, and they're actually becoming the WWE. Or I don't know what they're trying to do, but I just wish they would stick to what they want. Their original plan was just be something different.
I'd tell you what I do like now with obviously when Eddie Kingston came in and he was cradling him. That gives, at least that's going to extend the story now, and you know they're going to go up against Omega and the Good Brothers. So that was cool. A bit of story progression. Obviously, you know they had their war a couple of months ago. I thought
that'll be good.
Bar the explosives going off, you know, it actually think about it. At least him and Eddie Kingston are going to be together for a bit, which will be, you know,
which will be good. Yeah, absolutely.
The Credible documentary. I wanted to see that, man.
It's not going to be done, unfortunately.
I was looking forward to it, honestly, man.
Yeah.
You know, the trailers. I hope you can.
I know.
I hope you can get it done. I hope somewhere down the line.
Well, unfortunately, the people I was working with, they pulled funding. There was a lot of shady stuff, and that's a podcast in itself that I didn't know about. That happens when you make films, but hopefully someday, you know, that story unfortunately has already been told because that was so long ago. Things actually ended up are actually pretty good in my life. So, but hopefully there will be another opportunity, and we'll get something done somewhere. You know,
absolutely, man, absolutely. My guest, all the way from Connecticut, the former ECW World Champion, two-time ECW Tag Champion with Lance Storm as the Impact Players. I'm going to say it again, PJ. 8-time Hardcore Champion in WWF. Thank you so much for coming on Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything, man. You've been wonderful. It's been a pleasure.
This episode is brought to you in association with Powered 4 TV, so go and check them out for anything wrestling related, old events, new events when we come out of COVID, podcasts, you name it, it's all there at Powered 4 TV, so find them across social media.